A man walks along the streets on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, heading toward the intersection of Broad Street and Wall Street. Holding his hand and keeping pace is his 9-year-old grandson. Young Daniel Frischberg is about to get a first-hand look at the New York Stock Exchange. He doesn't realize it yet, but his destiny is to be a major player in the world of finance. What he's learned over nearly 50 years, he'll teach you today, and it's all free of charge. There's a billionaire locked inside you. The key to freedom is information, the kind of information you find here on the MoneyMan Report. Now, here's the MoneyMan. Here's Dan Frischberg.
Welcome to the MoneyMan Report. Thank you very much for joining us. This is a podcast that is the successor to the MoneyMan Report radio show that we did for 25 years. Alicia did it together with me, and she was the producer. And now here we are, and she's the producer again. So,
question, Daniel.
Yes.
25 years, that's so long.
Right?
We still look
Sounds
younger.
long. We just look like children. That's right.
How to advance financially in a new world.
The new world that we have now,
Yes.
meaning the tariff world.
And everything else in between. All these social issues. How to avoid bumping into them, which is being affected by all these people investing, buying, and selling, and they are affected by their moods.
So I have to live my life without trying to guess what Donald Trump is going to do next. And the truth is, I think I know what he's doing. I think what he's doing is really good for the country. And I think he believes that we don't have enough manufacturing and we don't have enough trained people to do the things that we used to do. And and we're not strong enough, and we're at the mercy right now of countries that do the manufacturing for us, and he wants us to be self-sufficient. He knows that if we got into a war with China's not going to give us all the stuff that we're used to getting from them. And of course, it makes sense for us to buy everything from China because it's better to buy stuff from somebody who gets paid $3 an hour or $2 an hour than $30 an hour. And so we like to do that. But our government that we had before, the dumbest government that has ever been, that we've ever had since I've been alive, they allowed everything to decay. Yes, it made sense for us to be having everything manufactured in other countries where they have cheap labor, but they weren't smart enough to maintain our ability to do all these things. And so we are at the point now where we're on our way to being not self-sufficient, to requiring to have to buy things from China, and China may hold out and not give it to us.
So what should investors do right now? So they're so used to investing the atmosphere for all these years, and then all of a sudden the game changed.
All right. Well, first of all, most of them think that the idea is to understand the stock market. And so what they want to do is figure out if the stock market's going to go up or is the stock market going to go down. And they think the way to do that, they're getting news reports from all those shows that we used to be on all the time. And the news reports are telling them about the durable goods orders and what next month's employment rate is going to be and next month's inflation rate. And the fact is, they don't really know. Their government's taking all these figures and making them up because the government doesn't really know. That they're trying to figure out the inflation rate for Texas, let's say, and for the whole country. Well, the prices going up in Houston is different from the prices going up in Galveston or Clear Lake or Dallas. And they don't know how to reconcile all that and put that all together. And so they are reporting numbers that are actually wrong, and they don't know how to do it. But the people that are watching the news and getting all this stuff in their internet, they're believing those figures, and they think that those figures, that they've been conned into believing that those numbers that are being reported are going to help them figure out the stock market. And their job is to figure out, is the stock market going to go up or is the stock market going to go down? And those things don't, first of all, they're wrong. And secondly, that's not what it's about. They don't.
So they're feed the wrong information, so they arrive in the wrong.
Playing the wrong game completely. Exactly.
Mhm.
They're trying to play soccer and they're trying to play it with a football. And it's not really working at all. So you're asking me, how do I deal with it? Well, what I want to do is I do business with companies, and I'm interested in investing in businesses, companies, and that's what I've been doing all my life. I've been doing that since I was a child. When I was 13 or 14 years old, my grandfather, I thought I was going to be a Yankee, New York Yankees, and I was going to play baseball. My grandfather, when I was 13, sat me down and he said, listen, I know what you think you're going to do, but you're not going to make the Yankees, probably. And when the Yankees were your age, they were 6 feet tall and they could really throw already 70, 80 miles an hour. You aren't like that. You aren't going to qualify for that. But I know something you can do. And he took me to a mile down the road. And the background we have here is 1 block away from the New York Stock Exchange, right? This is Broadway. Mm-hmm. And 1 block from this to the left is actually the New York Stock Exchange. And so I was about a mile away from that. He took me there. And he was able to arrange to get me to be able to go on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. And the guys there got a kick out of it. A lot of them were fans of my grandfather because they were Jewish and they were reading his books, which were about the Jewish culture and everything. Anyway, he was able to arrange for me to be able to go hang around on the New York Stock Exchange. The guys there told me, this is the story. This is businesses here. The businesses come here to the New York Stock Exchange to raise money, and they're all different guys, and they have a business, and they want to come here and get people to invest. They actually used to come and meet under this buttonwood tree that's outside, and they used to come and actually people would come and bid on being able to invest in their company. So now it has moved inside, and it's been going on for 150 years. And what the guys were telling me is, these are businesses. And the trick is, I'm only the specialist in 1 or 2 of these businesses. That's what the guy on the floor told me. I know everything about this business. I know everything about them. I know how much money they make, and I know all about their management and everything. And so I understand this company. Now, the people that want to buy these stocks, that want to trade on the New York Stock Exchange, they think the game is to guess what's going to happen next in the market. They don't know anything about the businesses they're investing in. They're trying to guess whether the stock market's going to go up or whether the stock market's going to go down based on this news that they're getting. And they have no idea. They don't understand those businesses that they want to invest in. They're trying to guess what they're going to do, whether they're going to go up or down. And that's exactly what's going on now. You're asking me what's going to happen with all these tariffs. I am interested in investing in businesses where the tariffs don't matter. Mm-hmm. And so, for example, one of the things that I'm right now investing in is Royal Caribbean, the cruise line.
And why is that?
Because that cruise line, first of all,
cater to all people.
They cater to people who have money, mm-hmm. And it's Royal Caribbean is the high class one, and now they've got several different cruise lines that they own, several different brands, and they've got this cool small boats that go on the European rivers, and they've got them in the Caribbean, and they've got them everywhere. And what's happening is, first of all, their biggest expense is gasoline, right? To run that boat. And the price of gasoline is way, way down right now. So that's the first thing, is I want somebody whose main expense is gasoline, and the price of it is way down. And so they're going to be able to make more money. But what's happening with that Royal Caribbean line is that the people that are their customers are older people. They're not that worried about the tariffs. They don't really care if they pay 5% more, 5% less.
And there's a large population of old people.
That's right.
Baby boomers.
That's right. And they're the customers of Royal Caribbean. I want them to be my customers. And so I look at the company and I see that the company is having 15% a year growth of their profits, but they're going to grow for 20% a year for the next 5 years. 20% a year growth of profits. And everybody says the stock market's expensive, but the bottom line is,
who, right?
They think the stock market's expensive, but Royal Caribbean is selling for 14 years worth of profit, 14 times earnings. Right? And the stock is going to grow its profits at 20% a year. And it's not really that vulnerable to tariffs. They don't care about the tariffs that much. Now, it's possible that the port that they want to land in may raise the price. They don't care about that. And I can tell you that the port is not going to raise the price on the Royal Caribbean cruise because they want them to keep coming there. When we take a cruise and we go out there and we walk around on the land out there in the Caribbean, we walk around and we see that everything in town is about the cruise lines coming in, right?
That's right.
So they don't want to take a chance. They're not going to piss off. They're not going to make the cruise line angry. And so Royal Caribbean is not vulnerable to this whole story about tariffs. And so I don't have to worry about it. What I'm interested in is I understand the business. I know that their profits are growing at 15-20% a year, and I'm getting it for a cheap price based on the fact that most people don't know that this is happening. And the stock market is running down, and everybody thinks the stock market's expensive. And so I'm getting a bargain, and I'm going to make a lot of money on it.
And folks, we'll be right back after this important commercial.
You're listening to Dan Frischberg. This is the union of people using their brains to get a better deal. We'll be right back. Each week in his live video market and economy update offered to his inner circle, Dan Frischberg delivers the in-depth, professional version of his famous Market X-ray report, live and interactive. Now that means you get to ask all the questions you want. And if you can't make the live meeting, you can watch the report on demand. Then email your questions in and Dan will email the answers back or include them in the next live report. Week in and week out, Dan brings you the ideas and specific stock picks from his friends, the people you see on TV and read about in the papers. You'll see what they're buying, how they're hedging, and when they're taking money off the table. At last, you'll get to see how the insiders negotiate the institutional macro bonds that billionaires on Wall Street rely on, the ones almost everyone else never even heard of. When you become an Inner Circle member, Dan will share with you his lifetime of experience and guide you to the best teachers, the best stock pickers, the best option strategists. And you'll be invited to exclusive working vacations in beautiful locations for the Inner Circle only, where you'll rub elbows with some of the most famous investors on Wall Street. So, how do you value the lifetime of skill and experience of a top investor on a mission to share it all with you and help you become one of the few winners? If you've been listening to Dan for a few years, he's likely already made you tons of money, or even more important, saved you from losing a fortune. Now, there are limits to the capacity of the online video sessions, but right now, for a limited time, Dan's offering you the position of charter subscriber, get this, for less than the price of a cup of coffee a day. For all the info or to subscribe, just simply click on themoneyman.com, themoneyman.com.
You're tuned in to the Money Man Report with your host, TV and radio money man, Dan Frischberg. For more information about everything we're talking about, go to themoneyman.com right now. That's themoneyman.com.
Okay, so we're back now. And the bottom line is, I was telling you about I'm going to invest in Royal Caribbean. That's a great idea. But what I didn't mention before the break, I didn't want to get into a long story before the break, and that is I own stock in Royal Caribbean, but that's not enough. I'm going to buy multi-year, 2-year, 3-year options on the Royal Caribbean stock. And it's going to give me the right to buy that stock, but I'm going to be able to buy that for 5 cents on the dollar or 8 cents on the dollar. And that means that when that stock goes up by 10%, my option is going to be worth maybe 50 cents more, go up 5 times as much.
Yeah, but you need to clarify is that it's not an investment, it is a
fee. That's why people get mixed up by these options, because they worry about the options. They go up and down a lot. And they get scared, and they think, oh my God, I'm losing so much money. When I pay, let's say $15 for an option to buy that Royal Caribbean stock, that's a fee that I'm paying to a market maker. And that market maker is issuing that stock, and I have the right to buy that stock anytime in the next 2 years. And I paid whatever 8 cents on the dollar for that. Now, if I am going to actually buy the stock, I would have to actually pay for the stock. But when that stock runs up, the price of that option, which I paid $8 for, is going to go to $20 or $30.
It's just a simulation. You're simulating the value of the
It's
stock.
very similar to me being able to take a loan and buy the stock. But the difference is, you know how to take a loan on your real estate, and you get leverage just the same on your real estate. But here's what happens. You borrow the money to buy that building, and you think real estate is very safe. But you know what? If that building doesn't work out for you well, or you lose that building, you still owe the bank the money.
Yeah, folks, if you're interested in learning this, hit subscribe in the bottom. And we'll be right back after these important messages.
You've heard it said right here, with enough leverage, you can multiply your investing strength and move mountains. So think about it. How'd you like to own companies like Roku or MasterCard or Raytheon and put down as little as 5 or 10% to unlock the treasure chest of unlimited upside gains? You can, all the while drastically reducing your risk, and you can do it with zero borrowing costs. You just need that leverage and a little know-how. So Dan Frischberg is going to allow you to pick his brain to better understand the concept of leverage. These are special online training sessions called the Pick Dan's Brain Option Service. You can use just a little bit of money to potentially make incredible returns. If you want to make real money, you owe it to yourself to take advantage of this once-in-a-blue-moon opportunity. All you have to do to try it is to go online and register so you can see the results for yourself. The cost is next to nothing, and look what's waiting for you. Each week, Dan will discuss a few detailed trades, quality, actionable trades. You get detailed instructions on buying and selling specific put and call options. The Pick Dan's Brain option service shares specific underlying stocks, expiration dates, strike prices, and shows you how much money you could make instantly. It's Dan Frischberg's time-tested, proven money-making discipline that he's used for 50 years to make himself and a lot of other people rich. Lots of other benefits are waiting for you, too, if you just register at themoneyman.com. That's all one word, themoneyman.com, for the Pick Dan's Brain option service. This is about teaching you the knowledge and skills. It's your responsibility to apply these skills and knowledge to your specific situation. It's too much to detail here, but all the info is right there at themoneyman.com.
You're tuned in to the MoneyMan Report with your host, TV and radio money man, Dan Frischberg. For more information about everything we're talking about, go to themoneyman.com right now. That's themoneyman.com.
Well, welcome back. This is the Money Man Report. Thanks very much for joining me. I'm here with the beautiful Alicia, and we're about to wrap it up. But what? You had one more thing you wanted to talk about.
Let's talk about Boeing, because there was so much news about their doors flying out and everybody not booking flights that comes out of American and all this stuff.
All right, so Boeing actually had all that stuff going on, and the stock was doing terrible. And not only that, but then not only was the stock doing terrible, but then they actually started to have more malfunctions, and as you said, the doors were blowing out and all kinds of stuff.
Not funny if you're in it.
But you see, what's going on right now is this. I believe that what's happening is that the President of the United States wants to maintain the ability to build fighter planes and all these things that Boeing is going to give him the ability to do. He wants the ability to build fighter planes. Boeing is also going to build a factory and spend a fortune in Missouri building a factory to do that. So here's what's happening. The president has, even though Boeing has been making mistakes and they got in trouble actually for fraud, and they were just about to be, they were being prosecuted for fraud, and all of a sudden the government has agreed to drop the fraud prosecution and just accept a fine. And I was wondering, that seems odd that they do that, but then here's what's happening. The president wants the ability to make fighter planes. So here's what he did. They are planning now the F-47, which is a new advanced fighter plane. It's the new generation of fighter plane. Much stronger, much faster. It's going to go 2 times the speed of sound. Mm-hmm. Very, very powerful. And the bottom line is that he gave that contract. Boeing won the contract. But the government usually never does this. But Boeing got a cost-plus contract for $100 billion, a couple of $100 billion.
Explain cost-plus.
It means that Boeing is going to be able to charge whatever it costs. And Boeing, when they have had contracts in the past, they ran over, they didn't get it done in time, and they lost a bunch of money. Mm-hmm. A cost-plus contract means that whatever they spend, they're going to get paid that plus a profit. Mm-hmm. And so the government doesn't really usually do that because they don't want to be on the hook like that. But the government made a cost-plus contract with Boeing for 2 years, a couple of years, to develop this F-47. And Boeing's going to get paid hundreds of billions of dollars, first of all, to develop it. They're going to make a couple of $100 billion just on developing it. And then the Air Force is going to buy 180 of those planes at $20, $30, $50 million a piece, whatever they are. What's going to happen is that just based on what they're making on that, Boeing is going to make, that's more money than they've been making in a year, in 2 years. It's completely increased the profits of Boeing.
They're back in action.
Yes. And basically, it's like a big handout from the president who wants to wants Boeing back in business and able to do what he wants them to do. And while he's taking that money and paying it to them, they're building a factory, doing all the stuff that he wants to do. And so that is, I feel, a company that I cannot lose money on, because they're going to build that F-47, but also they're going to be building all the other stuff they're doing. They're just going to make a lot more money than they've ever made in the last few years, and I'm going to benefit from it. And so that's a stock that I'm buying. And I'm actually also buying 2-year options on that, which we will talk about in another show.
Okay, folks, that's the end of that subject. Let's talk to you next time. I'm Alicia Frischberg.
I'm Daniel Frischberg. This is the Money Man Report, and we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the sound of your money growing. This has been the Money Man Report with your host, radio and TV money man Dan Frischberg.